Hello and welcome to the special transmission on Defense and Martyrs Day. We are calling this transmission The Brave. We are remembering the soldiers, the fighters who have rendered a lot of services for Pakistan. And of course, we are also taking stock of where Pakistan stands today and how Pakistan is combating its geostrategic threats that it faces. But that is not all. It is very important to remember that Pakistani armed forces have played a very crucial role in Pakistan's security. It is a role that does not actually limit itself to fighting the conventional war or fighting only on the borders. When Pakistan faces the threat of terrorism, it is our armed forces that render sacrifices. When Pakistan faces the threat of COVID, once again, we see earthquakes and floods. Every single time Pakistani armed forces have presented themselves in the service of Pakistan. And while that is the reality, even today, the sacrifices have actually quadrupled because of war and terror, because of umpteen other things that we have seen, especially when it comes to the threat from India. Of course, 1965 war, after which actually this day was designated, is also a war between India and Pakistan. So that threat also remains, and that has become, actually that has fermented because we have seen the kind of politics that is now going on in India. But may it be 1965, may it be Abhinandan, you know the name, right? Every time we have seen not only armed forces, Pakistan Air Force has always surprised the enemy. And Pakistan Air Force has really, really contributed to Pakistan's defense and made the country proud. So we are going to talk about Defense and Martyrs Day, but special emphasis on Air Force. And I have a very esteemed guest in the studio with me. I have with me Air Vice Marshal retired Fahimullah Malik, who is a veteran of Pakistan Air Force, actually a pilot also, and he is Director IR of a think tank called CAS. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program.
Thank you for inviting.
Next to him is Air Commodore retired Dr. Ziaul Haq Shamsi, and this is PhD doctor, and again, not only Pakistan Air Force veteran, an author. Actually, I have his books right here. If they are going to cut to my screen, I'm going to show the book as well. This is a book on nuclear deterrence and conflict management between India and Pakistan. And the second one is a translation of Sun Tzu's Art of War. It has been translated into Urdu. We are going to talk about all these matters in today's program. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being part of the program. I'm told before we start discussion, there is a package that we have to play.
During the 1965 war, it was vital for the security of Pakistan that Pakistan Air Force remains viable enough throughout the war to influence all the envisaged major operations. It was a gigantic task against an adversary having quantitative and qualitative superiority. To achieve this, Pakistan Air Force adopted an aggressive, courageous and calculated approach which ultimately provided an impregnable shield to the country's airspace. This accomplishment was primarily attributable to the visionary leadership of the then Chief of Air Staff Air Marshal Asghar Khan and then the dynamic and aggressive leadership of Air Marshal Noor Khan. Air Marshal Noor Khan underlined that superiority in numbers does not decide air battles. Better training, morale, and above all, fighting spirit, in fact, are the deciding factors. On 6th and 7th September, for the loss of only 6 aircrafts, Pakistan Air Force had destroyed 50 enemy aircrafts on the ground and in the air and damaged 8, not counting the undermined losses inflicted by PAF's night bombing. During the 1965 encounter, the Pakistan Air Force flew a total of 2,489 sorties. The PAF earned 54 gallantry awards, including 3 Hilal-e-Jurrat, 46 Sitare-e-Jurrat, and 5 Tamgha-e-Jurrat. It also provided support to the Pakistan Army and the Navy in line with their assigned missions. The Air Force created a saga of professional excellence and courage, which to this day underwrites a tradition that the men in blue savor and hold sacred. Their professional skill, matchless commitment to excel and implement what they have honed is what brings to fore the excellence that denotes this force. To the Air Force soldiers, excellence is an attitude. This act of valor was the outcome of having the best environment, the best pilots, best aircraft, best technicians, best logistical support, and the best airmanship and professionalism. Pakistan Air Force is the pride of this nation and will remain so over generations.
With such a remarkable contribution to Pakistan defenses, of course, at this moment the whole country is paying homage to our armed forces. Let us come back to the studio. Let us talk to our guests. EVM Saab, the efficacy of 1965 war and how does it set the Pakistan-Indian narrative regarding defense and security of Pakistan? Please go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much for inviting us here. Pakistan, since its beginning, was devoid of its rightful share in the military equipment and hardware. Nonetheless, it was thankfully to our leadership, Air Marshal Asghar Khan and late Air Marshal Noor Khan, both of them, the honest, sincere and very dedicated air warriors, that they brought the Air Force to the level that despite our smaller number, despite our lesser number of platforms and equipment, they had trained us and they had raised that morale into the each and every personnel, whether officer or man, to the level that they were willing to sacrifice everything and anything for the sake of country. The context in the 1965 war had told the air warriors that their survival lied in offensive defense concept and strategy. That was the first, I think, episode where a smaller nation had engaged a larger nation in a preemptive strike, which was again demonstrated by the Arab-Israel war in 1967, where Israel did the same thing. But that shows at least the offensive mindset and the courage to challenge the bigger enemy for the contestation where we could fight and win against the odds.
And this actually takes Pakistan to an mental air superiority that hasn't ceased even today.
Exactly.
Despite the fact that India has procured so much, still Pakistan showed them when we captured Abhinandan.
Exactly. That mindset of psychological and superiority as far as the professionalism and capacity of the pilots is concerned, and using their whatever meager resources or whatever platform that they are operating, their efficiency on those platforms and combat provenness has given us that strength in our ideology and in our psychology, that we are never deterred to fight a bigger enemy, and that we have shown it.
Right. Air Commodore Saab, of course I can call you Dr. Saab also, but let me ask you about this very important aspect, that while we are talking about defenses of Pakistan and Air Force contribution, where does 1965 war stand in its contribution to our collective responses and the approaches that now we adopt?
Thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Farooq Saab, 1965, an achievement of Pakistan Air Force in 1965 was very significant. Just two words and it will be summed up. Initiative and courage. Actually, Pakistan Air Force at that time, by these two terminologies, surprised the Indian Air Force.
Right.
Indian Air Force did not expect this kind of initiative, that is, PAF will take the war into enemy's land, because they had more numbers.
Right.
So they thought that actually the rule is 1:3. they thought we already around 4:1. So there will be no problem.
Okay.
But PF surprised them by taking the war into enemy's land.
All right.
This initiative and the offensive mindset actually set the tone within first 2-3 days of the war.
Okay.
And that psychological ascendancy has lived over 5 decades now.
Right. Right. And
So-
that is quite visible also.
Visible now because whenever the air combat has taken place, whenever the pitched battle between the two has taken place, PAF Alhamdulillah has always outmaneuvered IAF.
Right. And that is very important. It also shows that machines don't fight. It is the man who is
Behind
using
the
that machine that fights. But if you compare the equipment that was available to Pakistan in 65 and to India, what was the parity level?
Actually, there was no problem as far as the equipment was concerned because we have the American systems.
Okay.
We had at that time. Although the embargo had been placed after the 1962 China-India war,
Right.
but we were still using them. And we were able to operate them more effectively than the Indians. Indians also had the latest Soviet equipment, like state of the art at that time. MiG-21s were available.
All right.
But they were overconfident because of the numbers. Whereas we had concentrated more on training and strategy,
All right.
and that was offensive.
Okay.
That we will not cow down by numbers,
All right.
and we will go out and fight in their area, in their domain, before they cross the international boundary and come and threaten us.
All right.
That is where we are able to beat them squarely.
Really challenge them, really surprise them as well. AVM sir, if you are asked to compare where our Air Force strength was in 65 and where we are today, because I want to actually connect it to today's reality, how will you actually compare the two?
Allow me to start from the national side. Actually, the national situation does not permit any of the armed forces to reach to their full desire of the hardware, military hardware.
Right.
Nonetheless,
You're
PAF
talking about economy,
I'm talking
purchasing
about
power.
primarily. I'm talking about the economy, but the PAF in those days and PAF in now has matched the requirement where we think that the threat analysis of the PAF plans division is good enough that we think that we are in a situation where we can defend the Pakistani territory. Of course, the quality would make its role, but again, what our thinking is that with the current situation, we will be able to defend Pakistani territory as and when that occasion arises.
Right. And because you started from here, but I wanted a comparison between 65 and today. Have we improved our defenses and capacities, especially relevant to that day, 65 and today's, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
We definitely have come of the age. We have improved not only in tactics, we have improved in equipment, we have improved in our application of that strategy, and we have improved, alhamdulillah, in the indigenization
Okay. Yeah.
and self-reliance.
Right.
These component and technology inclusive, we have improved to a great extent. And
Right.
we will be able to take care of the requirement which emerged today and hopefully inshallah tomorrow.
All right. That's great. Same question to you, sir. Compare 65 and today.
I think in the conceptual domain, we have overawed the Indians. Why do I say this? Pakistan Air Force in 1965 led the way
Okay.
and provided extensive support and outright and victorious support to Pakistan Army and Pakistan Navy. Whereas the same was proved in 1989 Gulf War, Operation Desert Storm,
Right. The
that
air
it is
cover.
the age of air power.
Yeah.
Whereas PAF had done it and proved it in 1965.
Wow. That's
And it continues.
okay.
So every nation had to invest more and more in their air power.
Right.
And Pakistan, of course, was no exception. So Pakistan, within its meager resources, whatever it could afford, it invested in Pakistan Air Force. And Pakistan Air Force also always repaid in kind. Because the most important thing in any warfare is the credibility of your statement.
Right.
When Pakistan's Prime Minister made a statement in February 19 that if India tries to do any misadventure, we will not think,
Right.
we will act.
Yeah.
And when India crossed Pakistani territory, deep night, in a failed strike in Balakot, the next morning, broad daylight,
Yeah.
Pakistan Air Force told the Prime Minister that we are ready. They got the go ahead, and in broad daylight they went, and Abhinandan will never forget that cup of tea.
Yeah, not only Abhinandan, entire India and
Absolutely.
the world will not forget what exactly happened that
Coming
day.
back to your question, as far as the equipment is concerned, so as I said that in meager resources, whatever Pakistan could afford for the development of Pakistan Air Force,
Right.
it provided.
Okay.
And Pakistan Air Force, the best part was that it always chose the equipment which it could use to exploit the weaknesses of Indian Air Force.
Right. And
Be it the selection of F-16s,
Right.
be it the development of JF-17. We always went for those equipment which we would employ them more efficiently, more effectively, and get the result.
Right. And both of you actually have brought up the issue of meager resources. And I want to actually focus on that as well. Before I do that, let us talk about one aspect where our resource is not meager, human resource. And AVM Saab, we have seen from MM Alam, Noor Khan, and umpteen other leaders to Rashid Minhas, and even recent examples, that there is no dearth of high quality officers in Air Force. How do you actually identify their motto, their morale? How do you define it? How does that shape Pakistan's response to any threat in air domain?
As I already talked about, that the foundation that were laid down by late Air Marshal Asghar Khan and late Air Marshal Noor Khan, they were emphasizing more on the quality of training and level of demand of the professionalism from the pilots. We have a very stringent levels of pilots and engineers training, even in the selection and then follow-on training. And let me share with you that even if a pilot reaches a specific unit after his graduation, there is no guarantee that he will continue in that unit or in that profession, because the training regimes are so tough that even we have our depreciation from the units, the fighter squadrons themselves. So that demand of training and morale, that is not only infused, but that is in such a way trained that it comes out from within a person.
Right.
So-
right. And while we are talking about heroes, the known cases, people who are GD pilots, officers who have actually confronted India, let us also talk about the unsung heroes, the people who provide, all the guidance, air traffic, right? People on the ground as well. Can you talk about that as well?
Yes, we have had the incidents which have not come to the, maybe I think, very famous dictums of the public life, but in the war we have had those technicians, the airmen, who had laid down their life by trying to protect the assets on the ground. Wow. Even some of the airmen had laid down their life while protecting the pilots once they were trying to take off under the Indian attack time.
Wow.
So our training system is, I think, can be compared to any best training system in the world, where we not only motivate him to lay down his life, but also any other thing which he considers good for the nation's safety and security.
Right. Air Commodore Saab, the same question about the quality of Pakistan's Air Force officer corps, and then of course you can talk about the unsung heroes as well.
Yeah. Let me give you a very crude example. The raw talent, availability of raw talent, we keep discussing that ABC fast bowler picked up from, let's say, Burewala or Murid Ke or some small town in Sindh or KP. And we get the same people in Pakistan Air Force also, Pakistan Army also, Pakistan Navy, same lot comes, isn't it? So the raw talent is there, alhamdulillah, in every Pakistani,
Right.
wherever he is placed. So all you need is just to polish him and hone him, develop his skills and utilize him.
Right. Right.
So the leadership in Pakistan Air Force, always starting from Asghar Khan Sahab and Noor Khan Sahab and all, and the current leadership, they all concentrate on developing the skills, giving them requisite knowledge. What we say in Urdu is taaleem or tarbiyat,
Right.
education and training both. Okay, I have come up with a new terminology. I don't know whether it will be adopted or not.
Okay.
It is edutainment.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is education training management. And we have seen it in COVID environment.
Right.
I mean, we took time, our educational institutions took time to go on to online studies,
Right.
isn't it? Because we could not open the schools. Coming back to the Air Force training, as AVM Saab said, that the training standards are so stringent and there is no 19-20.
Right. Right.
Either you qualify or you do not qualify.
Okay.
Either you are eligible or you are not eligible. There are no grace marks.
Right. Right.
Okay?
And
And that
those
is-
standards are very high.
Absolutely, the standards are very high, and it is not only for pilots. Holds good for engineers, for technicians, for radar operators, for air traffic operators, for the ground combatants,
Right.
for the security personnel, for the administration, those working in admin branch,
Right.
those working in electronics branch, those working as commandos, like today, I mean, as AVM was narrating, that we beat the Indian snipers
Right.
in a competition.
Right.
So-
And that kind of keeps happening all the time. Whenever we confront them, especially Air Force has this great example that every time we have met, Pakistan has proven its mettle. But I want to actually come to other challenges that Pakistan also faced, AVM Saab. Fighting India is a conventional battle, has been happening for quite some time. We know how to fight. But in the past 20 years, we were met by a very different kind of enemies, that is war and terror, right? You especially served at a time when this challenge was really facing or confronting Pakistan. And Air Force also played a very crucial role. Can you talk about that?
Yes, it was really a call that required very deep deliberation at the highest level of the Air Force. Nonetheless, we were very much clear that what the enemy is, who the enemy is, and where lies the problem. There was no two ways. The discussion was not when to go, but how to go. We wanted zero collateral damage. There was no compromise on this thought that there should have to be no collateral damage, and then the means have to be deployed and employed where the enemy is given its due share while saving our own people.
Right.
So
Because it is our own land,
but
we are
it-
talking about our own
Exactly.
people. Yeah.
Own land, own people. It were the miscreants and the terrorists who had come from outside, or there were some people who had gone astray from within us.
Yeah.
So either way, they were to be given whatever their due share was. So our training already had given our pilots and the planners one edge, that we were already very much selective in making the targeting, and we were very much capable already of engaging those targets with the precision. With the directive that came from the government to employ the Air Force back in 2008, we met with the GHQ, the air headquarters went to the GHQ, and we had a joint session, number of them, and we planned which targets to go for, which are safe for the Air Force operations, so that our own troops, which were taking a very thorough resistance, and the people around should not be harmed. Another factor that continued to pinch us before we were engaged in the war on terror was the loss of Pakistan Army soldiers and officers.
Right.
We are, we have been trained together, and those people who lose their life are just like our own sons and brothers. So every loss was pinching every personnel, officer, man of the Air Force, that why are we not being able to employ it or do something. So Alhamdulillah, by employment of Pakistan Air Force into the war on terror, we reduced our losses of life and casualty rate to a very significant number that was conveyed to us with a thanks from General Kiani, the erstwhile Chief of Army Staff, and through General Raheel Sharif also. But I think it was a good decision to employ the Air Force.
Right. And it actually changed the course as well, because it had a huge impact. But once again, Air Commodore Saab, on one side, when we take this experience to fighting India, on one side is a force, actually a set of forces that have been battle hardened. They have been fighting for past 20 years. And India, that might have procured a lot, but it doesn't have that kind of combat experience of late. So does this actually impact how we actually fight each other?
Very much.
Right.
Very much. I think the beauty of Pakistan Air Force is its proactive approach. It is always prepared.
Okay.
I mean, and the response it provides to any call, whether for a support mission of Pakistan Army or Navy, whether it is in the mountains or it is in the plains, that is very significant, because it is always prepared.
Oh, yeah.
And as if I recall General Asif Ghafoor's statement after February 19,
February.
that we will surprise you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we did the very next day. Why? Because we always prepared. And we not only prepare against India, but our preparation worked fine and well for the support of Pakistan Army when it went into fight against terror.
All right.
Be it the Sawad operation, be it the Waziristan operation, the areas where we have never been.
Right. And terrain is very difficult.
Terrain when we've never been. But whenever it was called, it always responded very quickly. And the best part of the Air Force response is that it gives you a very quick result.
Right. If we actually look at how many hours a pilot usually logs during peacetime and during we did during war and terror, can you make a comparison, because that will show where India is at and where Pakistan is?
Actually, there is no comparison as far as flying hours are concerned.
Yeah.
Because India is a very large Air Force,
Yeah.
and division of effort they have is very different than Pakistan Air Force.
Yeah, but it is also very inefficient, right? Because the size actually ensures that you are not very efficient.
Over the years, IAF has become inefficient.
Yeah.
Their training system,
Yeah.
their dispersal, they are not fully focused along the borders against Pakistan, because they are spread all over, and their training system is different. Their training philosophy is different.
All right.
We are very specific as far as our training is concerned. We do air combat, we do air defense,
Right.
and we do air to ground,
Okay.
that is bombing and firing.
Right.
And we are very focused. Each pilot in a fighter squadron has to be master in all these three domains.
Right, right, absolutely. And one has to talk about that as well, but there are two very important aspects that I wanted to actually talk about. Modernization. We live, AVM Saab, in an age where technology is redefining everything. Automation, Right. Artificial intelligence seems to be impacting how wars are fought. And then, of course, beyond visual range, not only through the Air Force, but also through drone system. That a drone flies here, and the person who is handling it is sitting in perhaps somewhere in Bay Area in the US. So how does Pakistan adapt to that kind of challenge? Because you have also mentioned that we have meager resources, so we have to modernize as well. How do you do it?
Yes, the leadership at the Air Headquarters is very much aware of the sensitivities and the growing disparity in the technology. While we do agree and accept that India has taken the lead in the network-centric systems, they have taken the lead in the artificial intelligence systems, the Western countries, especially their new partners, they are providing them the support as far as the UAVs are concerned, the satellite imageries and the intelligence surveillance system is concerned. So we are cognizant of the fact that we may not have the luxury or the opportunity to access towards the latest and modern systems. But thankfully to our own scientists, as we have already discussed, that alhamdulillah we have no shortage of the capable resources,
Right.
the ingenious minds. So those minds that we have taken help from, and our own people, our own leadership, we have gotten to the meager start again, a smaller start like CENTEF, the Pakistan Air Force Center of Artificial Intelligence and Calculation. We have gone into the quantum, looking into the quantum computing also. We have taken the indigenization step towards the aircraft. We already have JF-17, alhamdulillah, and we have gone into the UAVs and other systems also.
All right.
So while we are at it, we are keeping a very tight eye on the enemy's capabilities and the support they are getting from the other countries, and keeping that in view, we are trying to have a frog leap.
Right. And that actually takes us to a break. Air Commodore Sahab, I'm going to come back to you after break, and we have to talk about BECA and others, other agreements that might be empowering Indian side. But first, we have to take a small break. When we come back, this discussion will continue. Take a break. Welcome back. Before going to the break, we were talking about the modernization or need for modernization in Pakistan's defense capabilities. Particularly, we were talking about Air Force. AVM Saab is with us. He responded. Let me take this same question to Air Commodore Saab. So your take on how to automize, how to modernize, and do it within whatever meager resources we have currently.
I think the process is already on.
Okay.
Pakistan Air Force is way ahead than any other institution in the country, because we understand what is happening across the border, especially after the new Indo-US strategic partnership and the coming up of Quad, that BECA that they signed, Basic Exchange of Cooperative Agreement. There are actually 4 agreements.
Right, right.
And it has been negotiated since 2002. So it's a long drawn process of 18 years that successive Indian governments remain committed.
Right.
And the
when we were sacrificing ourselves in the fight against terrorism, this was going on as
actually it was designed like that.
Yeah.
Because during this period, India has imposed a hybrid war on Pakistan.
Right, right.
While concurrently they were negotiating with the US these agreements, and successive US administrations also remained committed to signing this.
Right, and that is important. I want to talk about BECA as well. But before we do that, let us talk about the capacities we have and how we are modernizing. EVM Saab talked about Center for AI as well, and integration, and UAVs, the way we are deploying or using them. What is the next milestone? Where are we headed?
Interestingly, a lot of work is going on in the private sector.
Okay, that happens in the West also.
Yeah, because initially this was a no-go area for private sector, isn't it? But now the defense institutions are encouraging the private sector. They should bring in their IT specialities into the defense sector.
Right.
And that is why we are progressing well in artificial intelligence and disruptive technologies.
Right.
All of these. And perhaps Pakistan Air Force future lies in combating Indian Air Force advancements through disruptive technologies.
Right.
Because if we cannot beat them in number, we can at least disrupt their plans.
Right.
So the disruptive strategies that Pakistan Air Force may adopt in future is what is going to actually create a disconnect between Indo-US partnership. Why? Because Indian Air Force is the biggest beneficiary of BICA. They are going to have near real time, or I think real time information through geospatial satellites, and information will be available.
Right.
That means if they undertake any misadventure against Pakistan, they will have the support of real-time intelligence and information from the Americans.
Okay. But it cannot be like in the past when India and Pakistan would fight, there would be sanctions or some way to actually cordon off that support. Is there a possibility now?
You can recall, I'll just take you back.
Yeah.
Just recall what Prime Minister Modi said after February 19, that if we had Rafale, this would not have happened.
Yeah.
Now what they are saying is that if we had signed BICA earlier, the Ladakh would not have taken place against China.
Okay.
Why are they saying it?
Right.
Because they are expecting that kind of support from the Americans in case they are engaged in a two-front war.
Right. But Rafale might be a replacement to whatever the planes they were flying, but it cannot be a substitute to the Abhinandans who are trigger happy and end up in a compromising situation.
That is where we outmaneuver them.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Right.
That is the man behind the machine.
Right. Right. Absolutely. EVM Saab, when we are talking about modernization, the human interface, how important it is to upgrade and modernize that as well.
We have worked on it to a very large extent because the Pakistan Air Force is a national institution. It makes a real hard effort to invite or fetch the students and the train its own manpower from the remotest areas of Balochistan and Sindh, because it's a national platform. For that, what we do is that we make sure that their initial level falls to a similar category for which there is certain additional effort which is generated for those people who have come from a rural background or a disadvantaged background. Right. From that similar platform, they are taken forward and made to understand and made to go through those courses and those awareness exercises, the training courses, that it makes them compatible to the latest thinking in the technological fields, the scientific fields. Even the leadership program, I would confide in you that even at my stage where we were 2-star journals, we were sent for the advanced training programs in the other countries as well, to have the basic knowledge of what advancements are taking place in the strategy as well as the technology.
Awesome.
So the PAF gives a very high stress onto the man-machine interface and making the man not only capable of operating the machines of today, but also thinking and countering the machines of tomorrow.
Right. I understand that while we are talking about today's combat, we are talking about people who are flying machines, who are actually taking stock of whatever is going on. In coming days, warfare might have more to do with the nerds who actually handle codes or coding, right? So perhaps that is also a sphere that one has to look into, right?
Exactly. The network-centric branch of Pakistan Air Force, we call it C4I branch. The C4I branch itself is making a large effort not only to keep the pace with the latest and the modern cyber warfare techniques, but also to evaluate the threats, counter them, and also to create those capacities where we can attack the enemy on the cyber domain.
Right.
And that cyber is largely taking the precedence in overall planning as well as the warfare concept of PAF, because tomorrow's war is all about AI, the hypersonics, the quantum calculations, the UAVs, and everything again put together and made in a mesh.
Right, and that is very important. Air Commodore Saab, you can talk about whatever was said earlier, but let me add another factor. In Pakistan, one segment was perhaps not that much traditionally integrated into our forces. Now we see some remarkable changes, and that is women. Women were earlier, in 65, I think, they were not in any combat or armored forces in a defensive posture. Where we are at right now and how big a journey it is.
Yeah, very important question. I think we have more than 50% of population which is women, isn't it? And PF again took the lead in including them or inviting them or recruiting them in air combat. Very few nations have fighter pilots who are women, isn't it? We have. We have transport pilots. We have air traffic controllers. Doctors we already had, a lot of them. We have admin officers.
Right.
We have legal officers. So in almost all the disciplines, PF has representation of our very intelligent girls, and they are progressing in service,
Right.
and they are not anywhere behind.
They are not deterred by anything.
They are not deterred. Moreover, they are actually competing.
Yeah.
They are competing with their course mates who have perhaps more muscles.
Yeah. One muscle is brain, and that also counts, right?
Absolutely.
Father of two girls.
Mashallah.
As that, I know how smart girls can be, and they are very sharp.
Absolutely.
You can come in also if you want to talk about the importance of women in the forces. And then, of course, we have to conclude the program. So once again, 1965 and the lessons that we might have learned.
The biggest lesson that Pakistan Air Force has learned, and it has continued its now and the future journey on it, numbers do not matter,
Right.
nor does the hardware.
Right.
It is your will to fight, and it is how smartly you can fight. It is a game of nerves, the psychology, the OODA loop, the capacity to think and act faster than your enemy.
Right. And that actually defines where are we at this moment and how we proceed further. Air Commodore Saab, your conclusion, sir.
Preparation, initiative, courage, offensive strategy.
Right.
Go with the mindset, only then you can outmaneuver the enemy. If you are submissive or defensive, you would not know when his missile comes and hits.
Right. And that actually takes us, these inspiring words actually take us to the conclusion of program. Air Commodore retired Dr. Ziaul Haq Shamsi Sahab, thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Air Vice Marshal retired Fahimullah Malik Sahab, great having you in the show as well. Viewers, you have listened to our participants. When you talk about 1965 war, we take stock of what we lost, what we earned, what we sacrificed in that day every year, and we have been doing it for quite some time. But given that the overall situation and threat perception actually keeps on changing, today's realities are very important as well. While machines might have changed, while generations might have changed, one factor from 65 Alam's stories to recently capture and return of Abhinandan, one thing stays the same, and that is the will to fight for the nation, the will to fight and sacrifice for the motherland. And that perhaps defines who we are, not only Air Force, not only armed forces, who we are as a nation. This is a country like a baby that when it was born, people started writing it off from day one. But heroes and these brave people have ensured that Pakistan not only remains a very vibrant part of community of nations, but it is always secure. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.